these are the fragrances that I just can't stop wearing lately. I don't know if you should call it current obsession, but kind of like that. Basically, I gravitate towards using these fragrances, even though I just came back from Cannes and I discovered so many fragrances there. Most of this fragrance, I had it before Cannes. Very few that I discovered in Cannes. So basically, I've been playing around these fragrances for a while now, and I'm just truly enjoying them, and I just want to share them with you guys. First up is Room 1015's Love O Matic. Basically, it smells like fresh laundry sweetened up by strawberry bubblegum. That's how it smells like. Sweet musk, ambrette, cedar, ozonic notes that kind of smells very aldehydic. And if you're not a fan of aldehydes, don't be scared, because this fragrance is sweetened up by a strawberry bubblegum that I think is just perfect. It made that aldehydic vibes quite modern and cool. I'm currently using Love O Matic as my bedtime scent, and I find myself using Love O Matic as well as soon as I wake up in the morning, because there's just something about it that makes me feel fresh and awake at the same time. What a contrary, right? Because I love using this as well as a bedtime scent. I think it is such a feel-good, clean-smelling skin scent that I am just loving so much. Honestly, there's nothing groundbreaking about Love O Matic. However, I love its simplicity and I love the way it makes me feel clean every time I use it. As mentioned, this is like a skin scent and it's perfect like that. I think it is made to be like a clean smelling skin scent for people to enjoy it more. And yeah, I love it so much. Love O Matic by Room 1015, and I find this fragrance unisex. Next up is a new fragrance in my collection, and this is from Cherigan. This is called Shanghai le Soir. And guys, let me read you the notes first, because this is the first time that I'm talking about this fragrance in my channel. So it has lychee, pink pepper, cassis, violet, rose, cedar, orris root, white musk, woody notes, and cashmeran. Now, I know that you heard lychee, pink pepper, rose. I don't want you to think that it smells like Delina, okay? Even though it has that hint of Delina, however, this has an added violet and cashmeran that makes it more enveloping. So imagine like an enveloping rose, violet, musk, lychee scent. It is more of like a fruity, musky scent. Very fresh, something that will make you feel put together. And honestly, I'm not really a big fan of fruity fragrances. However, I love how the lychee is incorporated with the cassis, pink pepper, violet, and rose. It doesn't have any sharp edges. It just smells so fresh and juicy. To me, this is a peppery lychee scent backed up by rose and violet. I will say it is an alluring, everyday kind of scent. As mentioned, it has cashmeran, so there's something about it that smells very enveloping, and it has a special sex appeal, in my opinion. I am truly loving this fragrance, and I think a lot of you will love this fragrance as well. I love this brand, by the way. I have Lovers in Pink. They have like the same type of rose, cassis, and lychee. However, Shanghai le Soir is more of like the autumn version of Lovers in Pink. I highly recommend it if the sound of a fresh, alluring, fruity, rose, woody fragrance sounds appealing to you. And by the way, this fragrance lasts for a very long time. Definitely worth your money as it projects very well too. Once again, Shanghai le Soir. This is an extrait de parfum by Cherigan Paris, and I find this fragrance feminine leaning. Right, next up is a fragrance that I somehow discovered when I was in the Museum of International Perfumery in Grasse, and this is very interesting as the brand is a revived classic French house. This is called Reve d'Eau by LT Piver. I hope that I didn't butcher that. Apologies if I did. I learned about this fragrance while learning the history of perfumes in the Museum of Perfumery in Grasse. This particular perfume, Reve d'Eau, is the very first fragrance to incorporate aldehydes. in 1889. However, this is a recreated fragrance already. Of course, it is not like the same formula as 1889. For sure, there are changes. However, the backbone of it is still aldehydic scent, which I definitely confirm. However, even though I get aldehydes from here, it is not that prominent to my nose. To me, this is a clean smelling, fruity, musky scent that just smells like grass, in my opinion. Of course, I search up LT Piver, and the brand uses a maturation process that is very traditional. So basically, they let their ingredients mature slowly over 3 to 4 months using artisanal drawer maturation technique. And I remember I read something like that when I was in the museum, and I find it so fascinating because until now, the brand is still using that same artisanal drawer maturation technique. So what does that traditional maturation technique does? It allows the ingredients blend harmoniously, creating depth and stability. They use natural ingredients from grass, which I learned to be like one of the highest quality of ingredients, especially like their florals in there. I just love that they maintain that traditional technique until now. Because guys, this is a kind of slightly aldehydic raspberry, clean musk, cedar, and saffron combo that I find exquisite. It definitely evokes that French grass style. And when I was in grass, I have tried several fragrances. They all have this specific natural DNA in them. Reve d'Or is all about that. A very sophisticated raspberry saffron musky scent that I think is something that will be perfect as a signature scent. Look at the bottle. It is definitely giving vintage vibes as well. I love it. And, you know, I'm a perfume geek, so I really appreciate this kind of traditional artisanal style in fragrances. And basically, Reve d'Or is all about that. The opening of this fragrance is quite peppery. However, as it dries down, there's this sweet raspberry, clean and sweet smelling musk, along with that sophisticated saffron that made this fragrance very long lasting. I think the kind of saffron in here is special. It is not like, you know, a typical saffron that sometimes smells a bit screechy or like very sharp. The saffron in here is very refined and it's perfectly blended with that sweet raspberry, cedar, and musk. It smells classic and it is something that lasts, and it's very likable scent as well. LT Piver is now available in RAFINAD Perfumery, by the way. That's where I get my bottle from, and I've been playing around their fragrances and I'm actually quite impressed. So far, Reve d'Or is my favorite and I highly recommend it if the sound of a peppery, sweet raspberry, clean smelling musk and cedar with an underlying sophisticated saffron sounds appealing to you. Once again, Reve d'Or by LT Piver, and I find this fragrance feminine leaning. Oh, and by the way, performance is amazing. This lasts more than 8 hours. I'm very happy that I discovered this brand. Next up is my current cozy scent, Kolada by Kajal. And I know you will think that it is a pina colada scent by the name. Yes, this is a pina colada scent. However, this is the most refined pina colada scent that I have ever tried. I have, let's say, around 4 or 5 pina colada inspired fragrances in my collection. And I would say that Kolada is the best out of them. This is a Kolada scent that doesn't smell like the beach, in my opinion. This smells more of like an expensive holiday in an all-inclusive hotel. For example, in Mexico, let's say. Such a beautiful pineapple, coconut, amber, and benzoin scent. Sandalwood is not listed, but I'm definitely getting like a sandalwood, amber, and benzoin in the base. What I love about Kolada is that it is different from other Kajal fragrances. There's something about Kolada that feels more grounding. because I find Kajal fragrances to be something that demands attention, you know. However, with Kolada, she is more quiet, more refined. She doesn't talk too much, but you will see in her appearance that she's one of the bougiest women that you've ever met in your life. That's how I feel about Kolada, a very luxurious, creamy coconut and pineapple scent that I am just loving lately. This was my scent of the day for the past 2 days, and I'm really enjoying it. If you know me, I enjoy creamy coconut scents, you know, very enveloping, and I love the pineapple here is a little bit dialed down. It doesn't scream. It's more of like an enveloping, creamy coconut with the pineapple and some fruit notes in the background. I absolutely love this fragrance. It lasts for a very long time on skin and on clothes like any other Kajal fragrances. And yeah, this is one of my favorite coconut scents. Once again, Kolada by Kajal. And I find this fragrance unisex, however, slightly more feminine leaning. Next up is something fun, cozy, and girly, Fayora by Paris Corner. If you watch my channel, you know that I love this fragrance. It's such a girly, pastel pink kind of scent. Apparently, it is inspired by Dama Bianca by Xerjoff. However, Fayora has a twist because it has added passion fruit and rose. And the kind of rose that I get from here is kind of like rose water essence, giving this fragrance like that watery feel to it. It is very cozy, yet very feminine, a perfect everyday fragrance as well. In my opinion, I received a lot of new Middle Eastern perfumes lately, and I would say Fayora is my most used out of all of them because I just love how it makes me feel. It is clean smelling, very feminine and sophisticated. I love the addition of passion fruit in here because even though it is inspired by Dama Bianca, to me, this smells like a standalone fragrance because of that. And I love how Paris Corner made that twist in Fayora because this is truly one of my favorite Middle Eastern perfume released this year. And I love it so much. You know that already if you watch my channel. So yeah, Fayora by Paris Corner. Performance is very good on me. Lasts me around 6 to 8 hours with moderate projection. Next up is another refined fruity scent, Livree Nuit by Ormaie. If you watch my channel, I've told you how much I enjoy wearing this fragrance. This is a very refined, fruity, musky vanilla scent. The main notes that I'm getting out of this fragrance is definitely vanilla. However, it is backed up by fruity notes like passion fruit, nectarine, and mango. Super refined exotic fruits grounded by beautiful vanilla and musk. I would say it kind of reminds me of Vanilla Powder by Mathieu Premier, and I'm not the biggest fan of that fragrance because I find it very screechy. So let's just say that Livree Nuit is a fruitier version of that without the screech. And there's something about this fragrance that is very enveloping as well. I would say that is the common denominator in today's list. All of these fragrances gives me that like enveloping kind of like hug feel. And Livree Nuit is absolutely beautiful. I'm telling you, if the sound of the most refined exotic fruits and vanilla combo sounds appealing to you, then highly recommend you Livree Nuit by Ormaie. Performance is fantastic, lasts more than 8 hours with moderate projection. Next up is something that I discovered in Cannes and I just couldn't stop wearing this fragrance. Doux Ennui by the House of Oud. Basically, oh my god, this is a fruity, buttery, creamy scent of my dreams. Yeah, there's something very intoxicating about it, especially in the air. It's kind of giving an ice cream feel. The opening is quite buttery, like I could really tell there is like some buttery aspect of it, like a croissant with marmalade. And as it dries down though, it somehow turns into like an apricot ice cream cake. Yeah, that's basically the final dry down of this fragrance. An apricot ice cream cake. Very fluffy and buttery. The apricot is just in the background, very addictive. I think this is like my favorite apricot scent as of the moment. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this fragrance. And yeah, I'm halfway done of my 7 ml. Once again, the House of Oud Doux Ennui. Performance is outstanding. It will give you a beautiful scent trail. I will never forget the day that I went for a meeting in the showroom of the House of Oud. The lady escorting me to enter the room was wearing this fragrance. And I was like, oh my God, you smell absolutely amazing. What are you wearing? And it was this one. Love this so much, guys. Yeah, one of my favorites from that trip. Once again, Doux Ennui by the House of Oud. All right, and last but not the least is something very different from the rest, as I find this fragrance more of like a femme fatale, sexy, alluring kind of scent. Tales of Amber by Goldfield and Banks. Basically, this is a buttery iris that somehow translates into like a lipstick scent combined with that deep, dark amber and labdanum, grounded by agarwood, vanilla, and ambergris. There's something salty about this fragrance as well, so it's a very unique amber scent in my opinion, because basically it's an amber scent. However, I get that addictive lipstick scent on top, plus some salty vibes coming from the ambergris. A very enveloping and sexy fragrance. Goldfield and Banks nailed this fragrance, as it is now my favorite scent from the brand. And I have a couple of them in my collection. I highly recommend this fragrance if you enjoy wearing unisex, lipsticks, amber scents. Kind of reminds me of Givenchy Gentle Reserve, I think. I'm gonna pop a photo on the screen, but make it more unisex and more sexy and just more deep. A very alluring femme fatale scent in my opinion. This is in my autumn perfume tray, but I think it will stay until winter time. Yeah, that's how much I am enjoying this fragrance. I use it most of the time when we go out at night, and I just love how sexy it makes me feel. And yeah, once again, Tales of Amber by Goldfield and Banks. Performance is outstanding. Lasts more than 8 hours. First 2 hours has very good projection until it becomes moderate. So that is the video for today, guys. Those are the fragrances that I couldn't stop wearing these days. Let me know if you've tried any of them, and let me know if there's something that sparked your interest. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and see you on my next one. Bye!